Hi, my name is Mitzi VanCleve, and this is the first in a series of YouTube talks I'll be doing about my recent ebook that I just completed. It's called Strivings Within, OCD, Panic Disorder, and the Life of Faith. And the reason I chose to write this book was because of my own experiences of living as a Christian, a believer and follower in Jesus Christ, with anxiety disorders. Specifically, my disorders are OCD and panic disorder. And the reason I chose to write this book was because I found over the years that in sharing about my own experiences with these disorders, that it's been comforting to others who have suffered similarly. These disorders can really be confusing, and many people suffer in isolation, really, because lots of times they just keep it to themselves. And that's kind of how it was for me for many years. In the beginning, as a child, I had anxiety, and I know all children do. But with me, it was a bit more intense. I had health obsessions at a really young age. I suffered with social anxiety, particularly when I hit junior high. I barely talked in high school. When I was really young, I thought about things like I'm probably going to have a brain aneurysm. I worried about swallowing my tongue, all sorts of things like that. But it didn't get to a debilitating phase until I was in my mid-20s, and this would have been back in the early 80s. And it was shortly after the birth of my second child, a little boy, when he was about 5 months old, that I had what was my very first panic attack, which was at night. It was nocturnal. Shortly after I just drifted off to sleep, I was just suddenly jolted awake with the most horrible, intense feeling of having my heart racing. I was trembling, I was sweating, I had feelings of numbness in my fingers and hands, even some chest pain, trouble breathing. But most of all was just this horrible feeling like I was losing my mind. I was going crazy. And that really frightened me. And that happened more and more. That wasn't just the only one. As the days wore on, I had so many in a day that I just lost count. And during that period of time, my weight really dropped. I'm about 5'8", and it dropped to about 115 pounds fully clothed. Eventually, that morphed into obsessions that I was going to go crazy and possibly hurt one of my children. I remember reading a book about a mother who had abused her child horribly and mutilated this infant, and I remember just feeling like that could be me. I could go crazy at any minute and hurt or harm one of my children horribly. And this just became a relentless theme in my head. It was with me the moment I woke up in the morning and when I went to bed at night. I could not sleep. I could not eat. It was just a horrible time, and it was a time that, I was struggling for answers that I just didn't have. I didn't even know what panic disorder was. And I don't want to go into all of that. I'll talk about more of these things later on, except to say that Christians do and can suffer from anxiety disorders, and that there is help, and that there is hope. And more than that for the Christian, just like any other affliction, God has a purpose in it, like He did for me. And the main purpose for me was for Him to teach me that His grace was sufficient for me, that His strength was made perfect in my weakness. And now I've had opportunity to help others and encourage others through sharing about my experiences. And that's why I wrote my book. It's an ebook on Amazon, Strivings Within, OCD, Panic Disorder, and the Life of Faith. I hope you'll check it out. I'll be back to talk more soon. Thanks much. Bye-bye.